But
So.
what if less is more?
It is. It's always. Except when more is more.
Yeah.
You ever notice that?
Yeah.
No one ever says more is more.
Yeah. Unless they're eating French fries.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Less is never more when it comes to French fries.
Mm-hmm.
More is more.
More is more.
Too much is more.
Yeah. Yeah. You can hit a limit. You can hit a wall.
I love French fries.
Hey, Victoria.
Hey, Chelsea.
Speaking of potatoes and fries,
Yeah.
you know what I could use right now?
Some ketchup?
No.
No?
Well,
Maybe.
with the fries. I'm
But
partial. I'm partial to mayo. I need a breath of fresh movie,
Me too.
and also whatever the thing they cooked in Parallel Mothers was, which was potato.
Oh my God. Perfect segue.
And I wanted to say that, but then I didn't want to spoil the movie before I did the thing.
No, that was perfect. It was perfect.
That's a movie I like to see.
This is a breath of fresh movie, a podcast where I, Victoria Harley,
And I, Chelsea Pope.
we watch a movie that neither one of us has ever seen, and then we talk about it. And we don't talk about everything, but we will talk about anything.
We
So,
won't talk about everything, but we'll talk about anything.
I mean, seriously.
And you know
so-
what that means, folks.
Yeah, I'm tired. I've never liked the phrase spoiler alert, even though I understand that there's not yet a term to replace it.
Right.
So that's our.
I guess it's just because it's an annoying. It's like I associate it with a certain spoiler warning. It is a pod news. The pod news is the news that is about our podcast.
Yeah.
We have stickers.
We do stickers. But can anyone listening get one? We don't have a store.
I'm in East Hollywood.
And send
Yeah,
them
do we
to-
need to start sending little breath of fresh movie care packages? What if
mean-
we sent a little we just bought a big ass pack of the Wrigley gum or something, and then little stickers, and then you better write a review. You hey look at all this crap we gave you. No, I'm just kidding. But
Well, I
it'd be
like the
it'd be
idea
friendly. It'd be a
of,
nice note.
Of gum wrappers that had really nasty messages inside. No?
Yeah, no, actually. I mean, I love the idea that it's our breath is fresh. You get our trash.
Yeah. Well, you just crumple that part up and throw it out anyway.
Well, yeah.
So that
no-
would be satisfying to
Oh,
them. They'll
sure.
be like, fuck you, crumple.
Yeah,
Good gum.
absolutely.
I like the I have fresh breath button idea. Mm-hmm. Got to get that in the works.
I'm down with that.
But yeah, we have a logo. Some of you probably noticed. It's been up for
Some of you noticed.
well,
I don't know.
it's been up for 3 weeks. But yes, we have a color palette. We've got a sticker. It's exciting.
Yeah.
It's very exciting.
I like the colors. They look very
I like our colors.
Fancy.
The dark reddish brown is called Heath. And I'm like, yeah,
Ooh.
I like that.
hot.
That's good.
Cool.
All right, sick.
It is a pod news. The pod news is the news that is about our podcast.
Yeah. We're here to talk about the 2021 Pedro Almodovar film, Parallel Mothers.
Yes.
This is a film about two single women who meet in a hospital room, and they're both about to give birth. And they both give birth, whatever. One's adolescent and scared, the other is middle-aged and doesn't have any regrets about her pregnancy. They form a strong bond as they confront motherhood. Now, there's a lot more shit that happens, but
Yeah.
that's the...
Yeah.
And in fact, critics, some of the reviews I was reading, they were like, it's really hard to write about this movie and not spoil it.
Yeah.
Because, damn... his movies are always so surprising.
And that's part of the fun too, is watching
Right.
them that first go, and then you see it take a left turn. And then I remember at several points stopping this movie, not because I was bored, but just because something big would happen and I'd be like, okay, and we're maybe 30 minutes in right now. And then do it
Right.
again. I'm like, okay, maybe 40. Okay, this feels like the climax. Okay, we are exactly halfway through the movie now.
Yeah, no, I mean,
yeah.
that's I completely agree.
all the way to the very, very end.
I think that's like part of why I love his movies, because like I could never tell you how they're going to end.
Yeah.
I could never tell you where they're going to go.
Right.
And I think that's like magic. Like
Yes.
that is, I mean, there's so many movies that you can watch. I mean, especially when you watch a lot of movies, you're like, oh, okay, it's always the person close to the victim, or, you know, like you learn because it is writers, you know,
Yes.
it's not like real life where there isn't a neat explanation.
Right.
It's much more random. But yeah, this movie has like such a, I watched recently, I watched this movie, The Seduction of Mimi, which is a Lena Wertmuller film. I've seen it before, but when I watched it, I was really enjoying the editing. There would be these incredible lapses in time, like where it goes from, we're like in love to, oh, she's pregnant.
Yeah.
And this movie like totally was doing that, where I like this idea that you only see what you need to see. And there's what's like cool about this movie is not just what's in it, but what's left out of it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm curious though, like first impressions.
I fully agree.
Like, right?
I think you put that in a really great way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, like you know, the cut when she is chastising the au pair right before she's about to see the guy, that Arturo, whom we haven't seen at all since they hooked up at that point in the film, and then all of a sudden it cuts literally that door, like, and I'm just like, oh, is Parallel Mothers like parallel lives? Like, I don't for a second there, because her outfit changes and her hair changes, and I was like, oh, is this gonna be like sliding doors?
No.
And then I quickly realized, I was like, no, just the editing just made it. It was just a very like, this is a flashback, and
yes,
and
no, exactly,
and it took me a half second.
There was a flashback, like because it goes from like. It's to the moment where she tells him that she's pregnant.
Yes.
And like we'll also learn that, oh, his wife is sick, and like really sick, like in chemo, and you know, he feels guilty about leaving, because of course you would, but also like wants to start this life with this other woman, because she's Penelope Cruz, and I mean
like who wouldn't? Like they had the eyes at the start of the movie.
Oh man. Yeah. I mean, and you know, it's funny, just this movie, I'm just thinking about some of the first impressions, and like it's another movie focused on a photographer or the camera being used a lot. Like I don't know, I just feel like that's kind of a trope with him, and it's kind of voyeuristic, and like there's a lot of interest he gives in like actors and like photo shoots, composed beauty, you know. And this film has that as well. But my main takeaway on a very shallow level is just every time I watch one of his movies, I want to throw out all my furniture and start over and just steal everything.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed that whole apartment. I loved her terrace. You know, it's a very colorful movie, and he knows how to just give you a lot of eye candy. And I mean, even when there's a moment of like extreme tension between characters, I think that there are some times where he'll make an interesting, like he'll keep it as a wide shot, just so you can really take in the space. Yeah. You know, when the two mothers at one point are cooking after they've reconnected, and you know, the younger mom is working downstairs at the cafe, and they're like making this potato dish together, and then the camera follows over to Penelope explaining about like washing the potatoes. Then it just stays there, and we just get a nice wide shot in the kitchen of the two of them in this very large space, like getting very close to each other in the middle, and it's just like this it's a very static but very sensuous shot in a way. Totally. Yeah, and I think a lot of that is how he also uses color. Yeah, you're completely right. I was reading something about the cinematographer, who I should have his name, Jose Luis Alcane or Alcane. I don't know. I just fucked that up, I'm sure. Anyway, he says Pedro Almodovar is always he's more concerned with things like costume and set design, and you can see that, right? Like the color and the palette. So to respect that love of that, this cinematographer really embraces a deep depth of field, which is a style that, you know, you saw a lot in the 40s and 50s. And, you know, it's this idea that if everything is in focus, the viewers feel that they're in the set with the actors. Right. Like you feel like you're part of it.
I have a quote here from him actually. It says, cinema today can be too cold. Half the screen, maybe 2/3 of the screen is out of focus. The director is driving viewers on a very specific path. I think it's better to give a lot of information to the viewers so they can feel that they are with the actors suffering the same emotions.
Totally.
I mean, you picked up on that like instinctually. So I think that's like super cool, you know?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I figured that all by myself.
No,
I didn't need to go to school.
We're both smart.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Also,
I was dumb.
and just like a little note, I also learned that Almodovar tries to shoot chronologically, and it's because they want to solve the problems in the scene without having to return to it. I think that's interesting. That's just so interesting to me.
No, I find that very, very. Yeah, it's just very appealing to watch. You know, it's a very straightforward storytelling style.
Yeah,
that's very refreshing, and it almost kind of reminds me of a more impassioned Wes Anderson in a way. Sometimes the way that they talk can be some of the dialogue can feel very dry or on the nose what they're saying, or like they'll talk very deadpan, but then they'll have this big emotional reaction, and then it's not that the emotion isn't in the line readings. I think Penelope's like very emotional in this role. I think all of the characters show a lot of passion and a lot of moments of endearment.
For
even
sure.
Even some of the characters that you would think are like the main antagonists of the story. So I would almost say there's really no immediate like a personified antagonist in the story.
The closest thing to a villain is Teresa, Anna's mother.
Yeah, I suppose the men that the woman was assaulted by as well. I would say,
fair point.
But as far as not actual characters that interact on screen or have any sort of spoken
there's not a personified villain or anything.
Yeah,
it still has melodrama because like we're dancing around it, but these two women gave birth at the same time, the same hospital. Their babies get swapped, and this whole thing comes to the fore because the dude that Penelope Cruz's character, so her character is Janice, named after Janis Joplin, so it's not Janice. They do pronounce the J. But anyway, she sleeps with Arturo, this guy who she had photographed and who also happens to be a forensic archaeologist, which will come up and be very important later. But anyway, it's his baby. But when he sees the photo, he's kind of like, yeah, I don't recognize that face, like that. None of my family, like it doesn't look like you either. There's this kind of insulting, like, oh, you think I was like fucking around or something. But she obviously like is confused because she also doesn't see herself in it. And so what I love is that the whole story hinges on these DNA tests, these like paternity swab tests that you do with your like cheek and saliva, and it's just like, I like that he's found a way to continue to find high drama like devices, like this idea of paternity and maternity. And she discovers that, oh, I'm not the biological mother of the child that I was given at the hospital. And like when that happened, I was shocked. And that's like pretty early in the movie, or it's not like right away, but I really feel like that I didn't see that coming at all. It was like, what? Oh shit. And then once like it's confirmed, and everything, then it just feels like it's, oh, of course it's the other woman's, like, and she goes through the rigmarole of actually proving it. But that period of time where Janice knows that she's raising Anna's baby, then discovers that Anna's baby has died. So her biological daughter is gone. And it's such a insane position to be in and to have that knowledge.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I think it was just really, I was really impressed at how he's continuing to find drama, and he's continuing to find melodrama and like really interesting stories. I'm fully on a tangent now, but I guess all I'm saying is just I don't know what I'm saying.
That's okay.
Take it away.
You enjoyed.
I liked it.
You enjoyed.
I liked it. There was a lot that was fun.
So this is like a more detailed plot rendering of parallel mothers. And
there's all these people discovering like they have or half sisters, half brothers, or, oh, my dad has a secret family because of like ancestry, right? Something like that is kicking around in his head as he was like writing this. And like, He continues to evolve, I guess is what I'm saying. He
Absolutely.
grows with the times. That's the point I'm trying to make.
No, for sure.
This is also the first film that he's addressing fascism in his country, like the history, which is really interesting because I think, I don't know, whenever I tell people about Almodovar, I almost always reference it in relation to the end of Franco Spain and the fall of fascism and the period that followed, being this like explosion, right, of culture, because censorship went away and people, we talked about this on our episode about women on the verge of a nervous breakdown, but he himself has said that I didn't want to acknowledge it. Like a lot of us just wanted to just move forward and kind of pretend it didn't happen. But of course, you know, over 100,000 people went missing over the course of Franco's rule in Spain, which went from the 40s until 1975.
Right.
Fucking ridiculous. But, you know, these people are missing, presumed dead. And this movie is courting this idea almost immediately, you know, through like, you see this, okay, this woman's photographing this guy. And then clearly they're like starting to develop some chemistry together. But he is involved in this very specific pursuit. And she actually is like, oh, my family we know of a mass grave. Like everyone knows it's there. How could I go about getting this exhumed? In Spain, there was like a period of time immediately after fascism where there was kind of, well, we're all going to kind of not pretend like nothing happened. In more recent years, there's been a bigger push to confront this. Like, and this whole like issue of what is the past, what is true, what has happened? Are we going to like embrace it? Are we going to accept it? It's become politicized, just like in our country, how like there's now states where you can't teach people about slavery, basic shit that really did happen and is awful, and we shouldn't turn away from it. In Spain, very similar situation. You know, the right and the left don't even touch, you know, like they're very separate. And generally speaking, people who are against exhuming these bodies tend to be right wing, and the people who want them, you know, tend to be on the left. And it's not like it's wanted to be done for political purpose. It's purely just, let's give these families some kind of closure, recognize what happened. And the film, it built to it naturally. It's not like it's not earned, but it turns so hard at the end when the grave is opened.
Right.
An official history versus like one that people agree to. And it's larger than these two mothers, her mother and her grandmother, and how her like grandfather was taken away in the night. And there's all these single mothers in the family because of the holes that this regime left in their family. It's like a lot of really heavy shit. Like we have all kinds of like really dark chapters in our own history here. So I felt like I was relating pretty hard. The same shit just happens over and over again for really stupid reasons. Although you could describe the women in this movie as strong, there's like something really upsetting about this idea that like strength isn't a choice, you know? It's like kind of thrust upon you.
Sure.
Who is your favorite supporting player?
I definitely really liked the mother who you know, Anna's mother, actually, I thought was one of my favorite characters in the whole film. I don't know. I mean, everybody has a moment to shine. I think even Arturo's a really refreshing kind of male character. Not that he's great by any means. No one is like morally superior in this film, I think.
Totally.
But I mean, I guess maybe you can make an argument in the case of Anna, but you know, she definitely has attachment issues.
Oh
but
my God,
you know, the
her immaturity was so well dramatized.
Absolutely. But then also, you know, I think the mom, you know, her being one of my favorite characters is that she was simultaneously seemingly like such a caricature of a careerist, narcissistic woman, and then it cuts to her at doing this monologue. You know, we've seen her like interact with her daughter, and like we've seen her in the hospital, and it's like her mom clearly is prioritizing this theater career over her daughter, and it appears one way. Yeah, you know, and you can see kind of the judgment that you know Janice is projecting onto her, because I think Janice's character throughout this film has a very strict concept of what motherhood ought to look like, which is why she's such a bitch to her au pair. And, you know, she's like, I'm going to be a single mother. I'm not, you know, like the pushing away of Arturo because she's like, my mother was single. I'm going to be a single mother. This is like a tradition she's holding on to. And like, but you know, then when she actually has an opportunity to talk to Anna's mother, and Anna's mother is very straightforward. Like she's a refreshingly blunt and independent spirit who, you know, clearly Janice, you know, has, you know, that she endears to her with what she explains about, like, look, you know, I wanted to pursue this career. I wanted this thing my whole life. And you know, the way that she's explaining that relationship with her daughter unfolding, and there's a lot of self-awareness that all of the characters have that's very refreshing, that, you know, if this were strict melodrama and not Pedro Almodóvar, you wouldn't get that kind of introspection from a character who just seems to be this like narcissistic, you know, actress mother. But, you know, I think how she became one of my favorites is the fact that she was able to be given the space to create a case for herself, I guess, which I like that. And this makes me uncomfortable sometimes in his other films, you know, like the Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down, I felt weird about that one, actually. You know, and Antonio Banderas is one of the most likable, hottest, you know, actors on the planet. And even still, that's like a tough sell to be creating space for a character that seems to, you know, be so, you know, cruel and manipulative. And at the same time, he's Pedro. I appreciate that he creates that space, though, and gives us that opportunity to challenge preconceived ideas or, I don't know. Maybe Antonio Banderas getting lumped into this is not the best example with Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down, because I just have such a hard time getting past his behavior in that movie. It's such a hard sell for me.
I completely understand. I mean,
some of the instances of sexual assault are like, or physical assault, I should just say, like in general, can be tough. This is a semi-safe movie in terms of that. I think, you know, there's certainly allusions to essentially a gang rape, but you're not watching it, at least.
And it's not treated as
it's never treated as like fodder, I should say. This is a very serious trauma and the serious circumstances of it.
She's clearly not, you know, happy when we meet her, and when we find out more details, it's like, oh, well, that makes sense.
I like that this is a movie, especially with the context of, you know, Spain's history, and these two stories interconnecting to just say, like, you shouldn't. And the quote at the end too is pretty blunt about it too. Like, history will find its way. It will be heard. Human history, you know, like, it is. He's essentially saying we should not be looking away. And just like what you said too, the fact that there's, you know, people who want to edit our history to, you know, in the education system, that, you know, we don't see some of these uglier things that are important to see and examine.
And that's to
contextualize ourselves too.
Totally. And I mean, Anna kind of vocalizes a common, I don't want to say it's like exclusively like a conservative right-wing thing, but this idea of, well, it doesn't hurt, or it's not good to open old wounds, like focus on the future, move on, you know. There is like a kind of attitude of not understanding, you know, and
both of them struggle with that too. The fact that they're both, you know, I'm going to change my phone number. Like, I'm just going to cut ties with you know, the past and run away. It's very Don Draper.
It is. But also Anna's got, I mean, when the two of them begin sort of their romantic entanglement, it's like she's so possessive and so needy and so adolescent. I mean, when we meet her, I know time goes by quickly, but it's like we meet her, she's like 17, you know, and so even that.
She's very young and vulnerable, and she clearly has not received and love in her life.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you know, even the mom too, although it, you know, she's not a likable character, I should say, but certainly her mom even can understand, like, my daughter, no one should ever have been through what my daughter's been through. Like, she just didn't get enough love in her life.
Yeah. I mean, there's, you know, we learned that, like, oh, right, her father married somebody else and started a new family, and she was never really a part of it. And so, yeah, we get a really strong sense that, like, oh, this is, somebody who's pretty hungry for affection. So, of course, when she meets Janice, and then they have a chance meeting later, you know, because she's working in this cafe. But then it's not a chance meeting because she took anyway. And I mean, I'll be honest, I think I'm glad it didn't happen this way. But I was kind of like almost waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like, I thought maybe Anna was going to snap or was going to be a danger in some way, or that the child died, you know, of hers. I was like, well, maybe she had something to do with it. Like, you know, I didn't crib death. I was like, oh, is that a real thing? You know, I felt myself very suspicious of her, and that was kind of unfair.
But you know, I think you weren't like incorrect with that, because then Janice too is like verifying with the mom, like she's pushing back at them and projecting at Anna's mom about, you know, what if you had been there, then the baby could have been, and the mom was adamant about, like, no, like that
was a freak thing,
basically, like, very signaling to the audience, like, no, you know, Janice's baby was going to die no matter what. This was not.
There's nothing malicious or evil at work.
There isn't. Like, just to kind of expressly state, like, this is not. This is not.
But I wondered if it was going to go that way. You know, I think that was, again, I've seen a number of his movies now that I'm like, oh, anything can happen. Like, nothing is out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
And although I thought this was exceptionally beautiful and painful and great, it definitely doesn't have the joy of some of his other films. Yeah. You know, it's a bit joyless. Like,
it's heavier fare.
It is.
And it ends on a very sobering note. In spite of the fact that it is also, in its own strange way, a happy ending. There's peace and solace that it's all these families are essentially united in this field with their ancestors who were murdered. And, you know, you also see Anna with her child, which is it inappropriate of me to call it, it's technically a rape baby? Like, I mean, you know, that's really, like, it's you have that little girl who's like staring at this dark history. And like, it's just like seeing, like, the generations, there's the echoing of
trauma,
you know, that there's, it's reconciling with the violence of one's past, or I guess, or just coming to terms with.
And that was what was said, right, in the film, was like, the war will never be over so long as, you know, all of these things remain buried. But I definitely was kind of, on some level, upset by the fact that Anna has to raise the child that resulted from her being raped. Like, I'm really like.
Well, but Anna then, she clearly wants to be a mother, though. Like, she clearly.
Oh, yeah, she got into it. I mean, but it was like. That whole, I don't know, it just, I'm like, damn.
Not that wasn't me being like, oh, but she wanted it. She a baby, like, it's okay. No, it's not. No,
there was something about it, like I said, that just, a part of me was like, I don't like that.
Yeah, there are these very uncomfortable moral realities that Pedro, I think, in every single one of his movies now. Oh yeah, I mean, you're coming to terms with it. I think, like, Women on the Verge, it's like I think like the roofie thing's a pretty big thing.
Yeah. Well, and Law of Desire has a plot line that involves, you know, like a transsexual woman, and it, you know, there's just a lot of, like, part of why he gets so much praise for, you know, he doesn't like to be thought of as a gay director, but he has treated different kinds of queerness with such dignity and respect that no one else really does as well. I feel like, and his sensitive portraits of women are just the best. Yeah, they're just the best.
I mean, truly though, I think, like, showing those facets, those uglier sides too.
Oh yeah. But we're all still humans who still have, like, some of us are more broken than others. And
absolutely, I find that fascinating. Yeah. And you know, also too, I just going back also to the much earlier, just the eye candy thing, the aesthetic thing. It's like capturing, like 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 the whole photo shoot of the trans woman, and like this, you know, there was like there were just these instances where it's just like in a way I almost felt like he installed like old school golden era musical, and Oklahoma has a ballet sequence. Like every opera has like a ballet sequence, or there's like a little bit of, I don't know, there was just a little bit of a textural break in his films sometimes that come up, where you get to watch something that is like a performance that's didactic. It's part of, you know,
that's so true.
It's part of something else that's happening, but it's also something that you get to engage. You're like becoming closer to the protagonist character that's also perceiving it.
Yes, exactly.
You know, like you think about like Peppa, when she's watching her ex and she's doing the VO.
Oh yeah, for
and
that
it's
movie.
like you're watching alongside her, but you're also watching the movie scene itself.
No, I love that.
And then this photography scene, and Janice is taking the picture. It's just like you get to kind of.
There are these nice. You're right. There's these like nice little breaks. There's nice little like moments where we're with somebody in their craft or something, or we're watching a performance. I mean, High Heels had that in the drag show and in her mother's like performance on the stage.
Exactly. Yes.
And I mean, I'm totally with you. And those moments are just pure cinema, right?
Yeah.
Because they're just amazing. Like you can't put it in any other terms. This is the only way that this can feel this way.
I just in general I like a really well done show in a movie.
Yeah. And again, he's very interested in he's done a number of movies where, you know, mothers who are actresses and the being unavailable, like that's an issue he's explored before. And I mean, he himself described, like he said, with Madres Paralelas, I returned to the female universe, to motherhood, to the family. And it really does feel like there's barely a man in this.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the only ones we literally, I think two.
There's
it's
maybe
just Arturo.
There might be another small bit part.
And it's the general, you know, the as far as like heteronormative cis men characters in the film. Yeah, you know, it's just Arturo, I think, and then the. One of the great uncles at the very end who's becoming very emotional about his history, but it's like this secondhand history, and even you almost kind of see this, like I kind of like when we were watching, or like I liked watching this scene, and you're hearing these different older, you know, generations talking about you know, a very close personal like wound, you know, and then simultaneously like cuts back to, and sometimes Arturo's like he's writing down like evidence, and it's very like clinical, and it's sort of like you're hearing like, oh, it's this thing that was shared through this story to me, you know, the power of storytelling, you know, but just like the idea of these shared, like this passing of history and the passing.
Well, and you know, I'm with you. And what I love so much about all those stories is how every single one of them, we find the physical evidence, or he shows us the physical evidence in the grave. Like
exactly.
The rattle, the glass eye, like all of it. It's all there.
What a jarring, like, just it's both cheeky and like macabre at the same time, really when he does the eye and puts it back in the skull like that. I found that to be like, I really liked that shot, even though it was disturbing, and there was something very oddly there's something oddly like humorous about that.
It's a little Hitchcockian. Like he had a really dark sense of humor, right? Like I feel like and I mean that's one of many influences Almodovar. I mean, he's been influenced by many things, but I was just sort of reviewing today, like people like Billy Wilder and George Cukor. He was like really into their work. Of course, also people like John Waters and Andy Warhol. And
for sure.
God, I can see it, you know, and like the melodramas of Douglas Sirk and yet like Almodovar is like, I always do that. He's like a planet unto himself. Like one of the reviewers was talking about like Planet Almodovar and how it does feel like we think of world building sometimes in too narrow of terms. It's like, it's not just, you know, franchise IP for a comic book or, you know, Star Wars, or Lord of the Rings. It can be this sort of wonderful pantheon of like queer, colorful strangeness, you know, and I want to
Absolutely.
live inside it. I
love the commitment to this style that he has, but that at the same time it's, you know, it's something that has also aged and gotten, you know, more, I don't want to say nuanced, because there's still lots of blunt cuts and very interesting edits that, you
the
know,
editing was really,
while I'm like, I feel like I was a little harsh on Elaine May with some of the cuts on Mikey and Nikki, whereas in this, you know, if I'm gonna call her out for that, I should re-examine those feelings, because I did actually appreciate and enjoy some of the jarring cuts that would happen in this movie.
Yeah,
you know, like that pink ice cream shot.
Oh, yeah, that was great.
That was an oddly uncomfortable and intimate.
Yeah,
but clearly it didn't seem like they were like even in the same space together.
Yeah.
Like it looked green screened. Actually, was I crazy? Were there green screen?
I thought that looked like it too. I was not sure. I didn't read.
There were several scenes that I couldn't tell if they were green screen or if it was like HD rental.
It might have just been. I don't know, because I had the same reaction.
And if so, I wouldn't put it past that to be an intentional stylistic choice in almost in a way to almost further up the like the camp or the you know the melodrama, the soapy aspect, you know, totally. The theatrical nature of it.
I mean, we can't get enough drama. Oh, one thing I just wanted to mention was like, this is totally on a different subject, but somebody pointed out that his characters don't ever have to like come out because they're already liberated. Like there's
absolutely.
Like there's no and we again go back to Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown and just how it's not really confessional the way people speak, because I don't think there's a sense of guilt or this need to, but there is kind of this my life is falling apart, so I might as well sit down and be comfortable. You know, there's kind of this like, I am accepting of the chaos, but also I'm telling it. I am showing, like, I'm not going to hold the chaos. Like, you can see that everything is a mess. So here it is. And it's
very bluntly laid out.
And that's like sort of a Spanish trait. And again, because of this relationship to the censorship and the intense, you know, and it's not just, you know, you don't just have, you know, fascism, you've also got like Catholicism, like Spanish Catholicism, like heavy, you know. So we're talking about all kinds of like oppression, repression. Like people were they were busting to get out, you know, they were just busting. And I don't know, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's just crazy to think about how long that went on in the country. I have like some stats here. His films have acquired 9 Academy Award nominations, 2 wins, 14 BAFTA nominations and 5 wins, 12 Golden Globe nominations and 1 win, and 117 nominations and 32 wins for the Goya Awards, which apparently that's your Spanish film, you know. It's like the César in France. So, wow. Tired. Anyway, I just bring it up because like the guy has been consistently making great cinema for a long time, and in that true auteur way that like he directs what he writes and he writes what he directs. Like he's not interested in other work. He writes for the screen. He's really conceiving of it. I mean, we've gushed about this guy before. We adore him. He's 72 years old, by the way. And he's just like, dude has never fallen out of touch for a second. Like,
that's great.
I don't know, in my view. Let's see. Something that I did want to point out, that character Teresa, who I think might also be my kind of favorite supporting player. There's a line, you know, about, she's like, oh, you know, all actors are leftists. And she's like, well, what about you? And she's like, well, I'm apolitical.
Oh, I love that line. I knew that was going to come up.
It's my job to please everyone. I read an interview. Almodóvar says in Spain, when somebody says that he's apolitical, it means that he's on the right. And it's like, That sounds about right.
Yeah, but it's also because it's very much I'm getting mine. It's an opportunist.
It is an opportunist posture.
Absolutely. Yeah. When you say that, you can absolve yourself.
You really can. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like I joked with people. I was like, oh, I don't make enough money to have principles. Whatever. I need the money. I do have some reviews here. Actually, before I get into that, I just a couple of notes about the production. So this was a script he had been working on for a while, but he got sick with COVID, like many of us. And during sort of the isolation and being locked down and all that, he took the time to complete the script. They'd been kicking around for a little bit. And, it's crazy because 2019, it was kind of like a banner year for him. I mean, Pain and Glory, like took the best foreign film, I think, at the Academy Awards. It was also like Time Magazine's like Film of the Year. He was given an honorary Golden Lion at the Venice Film Festival. Like he was already doing great. And then like he just sort of is like, no, I have to keep working. And he started getting into pre-production for this film in fall of 2020, started shooting in March 2021. And then it was released in fall 2021. And that's a pretty...
Yeah, this makes a strong case for those green screen shots. I wonder if he's just got those isolated shots of the spaces. Then for
that was distracting.
Social distancing reasons.
They're very possible. Very possible.
Yeah.
When this premiered, it was at the Venice Film Festival on September 1st, 2021. It received a 9-minute standing ovation.
Do they time those?
I don't know.
What is this?
Someone must have.
And that warrants a 9-minute ovation.
I'm just thinking about
clock
how
starts now.
Sore my hands would be after 1 minute.
Right.
And I mean, it's good, but damn, like 9 minute, like I definitely would not have gone on that long.
I would have been bored. Imagine if you got, there's like, what if I wonder, like, if I was getting a 9-minute ovation, I'd be like, keep going.
Yeah, don't stop.
I was going to say, I was like, man, what if you just got bored through your own ovation?
It's a wonderful testament to how much people respect him, how well his film was received, but it's just funny. Like this guy just keeps getting better. That's not even funny. It's just great. I'm delighted to be alive, like at the same time as an artist like this.
Aww.
It's like, what a privilege. I feel that way about David Lynch and other people. It's like, that's cool. Because, like sometimes I hear about people in our parents' generation, they were reading like Steinbeck and Hemingway when those guys were still alive and writing books. It's like such a weird thing for me to like conceive of.
Yeah.
But I feel that way about filmmakers. Like I think, we're kind of we are in a good period. There's still some really fantastic filmmakers, I have to believe that. A few reviews. They're all pretty positive. Almodovar's art is characterized by emotional precision and moral clarity. That's the New York Times. The New Yorker says, this was the whole thing. It's hard to write without, spoiling it. But the story's political core renders his direction purposeful, but not narrow. And I did think that was an interesting comment on how I think the title and the way it began, although, again, the whole exhuming of the grave thing is established very early. I mean, it's like one of the first scenes. And it even was part of what I was like, oh, interesting. This is going to keep me interested. It's really about that story. The way Mikey and Nikki ended with Nikki dying, right? It was like, oh, that's the end of the story. That's it. Like, this is like, it is all about the graves. But you get so distracted by the mothers and the babies and the mystery of that and what is happening. But the parallel mothers, it's like, it's all the mothers ever, it's all the women who've lost things. And Variety really liked it. They said it's a film of cascading twists and turns, of thickening complication and high family drama. Thickening complication. I like that. Penelope Cruz did receive a nomination for this performance, right? Yeah, for the Academy Award.
That's right.
Yeah. Who won that?
Jessica Chastain for The Eyes of Tammy Faye.
That's right. I'm not here to trash Jessica Chastain. That's not. But this performance,
I think she had a strong campaign and has been enjoyed by the Academy for a while and been nominated a number of times. And
it's politics. It's always politics.
Well, like, not to be shitty, but yeah, Oscars are definitely.
It is that we know that
it's definitely all about politics.
I think it just, and I realize it's a combination of that, and then also this thing where I'm just like, if this was in English, would this be a question. You know what I mean? Like, that's what bothers me, is that like you just don't want to read fucking subtitles. Like, you can't. One of the best films made, one of the greatest performances, but because it's in Spanish, you know, it just isn't going to get seen. It makes me so mad. Like, I feel like we have a country of fucking idiots, and it makes me mad. I'm disappointed in us. Not you and me. We're great, but
yeah. Well, you know, it's interesting the way that some of the, clearly there's at least some of them out there, these Academy voters who are very dismissive of foreign films.
Yeah.
And
some people really want to hate on it.
Or foreign language films.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
subtitled films.
Obviously, we have many differences, like culturally. That, you know, I'm not going to say like everyone's the same.
Yeah.
That would be absurd. However, human stories are human stories. And this idea that like, oh, I won't relate because, you know, I'm not Japanese, or I'm not this, or I'm not Turkish. It's like, that's not what it's about. Like, we're not going to learn about each other if we refuse to learn about each other. I don't know. I don't know what I'm on a soapbox that's collapsing because it's been left out in the rain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you watch this again?
Absolutely.
Same.
There you go.
I had to buy it, so I will be watching
There you
it
go.
again.
This is a very good movie.
Spain looks cool.
Mm-hmm.
Europe in general. Like that cafe.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you to our listeners. Thank you for listening. We really appreciate it. You know the story at this point. If you listen to podcasts, all the things that podcasts ask you to do. Subscribe, rate, review, tell somebody. That'd be cool. You can tweet at us, or you can haunt us on Letterboxd at Fresh Movie Pod. We're also on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's it.
Awesome.
God, there's going to be a lot of editing on this one.